And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings. Yeah.
No, they don't want it, but we are kings. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God. Us as 12 tribes of Judah, as a member of the Hebrew people, we are still inside of our genocide. 50% of all black deaths a year is abortion.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me?
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I want to say Shalom Lach, Mash Parka. Hope and pray you guys had a great weekend. Hope you got the proper rest that you needed, that's required of us to recuperate and be able to be fresh at the beginning of the new week. So I want to say again, peace and blessings to everyone. Hope and pray all is well with you guys, and apologize for whatever technical difficulties that you guys had with the Shabbat lesson early today that we went live earlier today with from our assembly. And so what I'm going to do tonight is we're going to continue to deal with celebrating the Shabbat. I'm going to reteach what I taught earlier, minus the hiccups, the issues, because I got notification that the presentation was taken down, and it's all kinds of kooky stuff glitchy stuff that's been happening with this account, with YouTube. With my videos going into private, all kinds of stuff. I'm having labels of, warning labels for 18 and older during our Shabbat service. So I really want to reteach what I taught earlier at today's Shabbat, and really give clarity and answer a lot of questions, because one of the things that we hear a lot, there's always a but at the end of every discussion when it regards to us. There's a but. It's good that you know that you Israel, but. Well, let me make this clear for anyone that's watching this presentation. Whether Israel sinned or not, they were still Yah's chosen people. See, in Christianity, they teach that only way Israel is recognized as Yah's chosen people, recognized as his people, is that they have to be in a certain place. They cannot be in sin. They have to accept the Messiah. Now, we know that we all have to accept the Messiah, and I'm not saying anything towards that. But at the same time, all those that rejected the Messiah, they were still recognized as Israelites. Let me say that again. All those that have rejected the Messiah at that time were still recognized as Israelites. It was still Israel. There was just Israel that was in a fallen place, right? So don't get caught up in all that I call it junk doctrine, and that's why we have the garbage can animation here. Is that many are pushing a lot of that junk doctrine, that's rooted in Christianity, that's rooted in covenant theology, which replacement theology is an extension of. Right. So I want to make sure you guys understand that whether you are in sin or not, whether you accept the Messiah or not, you're still part of Yah's chosen people. You still descendants of the blood, descendants of the children of Israel. It just means that you are in sin. Now, that's a whole nother ball game. Just because you're the blood descendants of Israel doesn't mean that you have a get out of jail free card. Just because we're the blood descendants of Israel, there is still a requirement of us, an expectation of us. So those are two different conversations. So again, when anyone that's teaching this spiritual Israel, guess what? I mean, that's what covenant theologians teach. They teach a spiritual Israel, and they begin to come up with all kinds of allegories to try to justify their position. So I want to say this again. Just because you're blood descendant of Israel, guess what? You still have to obey the law, statutes, and commandments, right? You still have, you can't reject the Messiah, right? And we'll deal with that in another discussion when I teach a series on the book of Numbers, and I can prove it there. But anyway, so this lesson right here, again, celebrating the Shabbat, it is a sign. So there's a number of things we're going to cover here. I didn't put my objectives at the beginning of this presentation, but in this presentation, I'm going to prove to you that the Shabbat is a sign, and we're going to cover some key things, key signs that landed right on the Shabbat. Also, I'm going to prove to you that your skin complexion, right, the texture of your hair, that woolly hair that you have, that is also a sign. And I'm going to prove it to you that your identity is a sign, contrary to what others may think and believe. I'm going to also prove to you that the Messiah is not our Shabbat. He's our rest. He said he'll give us rest, right? But there's a difference between that word that's there, the Greek word that is used for that particular text, as well as the Greek word for the word Shabbat, which in Greek is Sabbath. And we're going to deal with that. So these are some of the objectives that we're going to deal with tonight and give you proper clarity. And I hope and pray that for those that are watching this for the first time, hit the like button, subscribe, and I encourage you guys, share this with your loved ones. And the whole goal of these presentations is to give you in-depth information and give you an angle that can help you be able to witness to your loved ones, right? So, and give you plenty of content, give you plenty of sources that's supported with scripture, giving scripture in its proper context, okay? Not from a perspective of how many would do is give you piece, give you pieces of the text, but give you the fullness of the text. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I don't want to prolong the intro here. And again, I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Peace and blessings to my buddy Jay Highstyle and all you guys that are watching tonight. And moderators, if there's anyone that's that you see come into the chat, being disruptive, block them, kick them out. There's a difference of having a disagreement. That's one thing. But if you see anyone coming in, calling names and being completely disruptive, that's a different story. It's okay to disagree. I know we're not going to agree on everything, but we still have to be respectful, even in the midst of the disagreement. And I encourage you guys, if you're going to make comments about the presentation, guess what? Use scripture to support your comments, right? Use scripture to support your comments. Don't just post something, because that's one of the things that's happening a lot when those that are posting in the comment section, they'll post comments, but they do not use any sources to substantiate their claim. If you want to say that I'm wrong about something, give me the scripture, give me your source. It's one thing to just say something, but it's another thing to have present your information, present your sources to substantiate your claim, whether I agree or disagree, but at least you're giving clarity. All right. And that's one of the things I see happening a lot within, whether it's in the church or outside the church, right? Among this awakening, a lot are giving information, right, verbally, or typing up posts and all kinds of things, but they're not sharing sources. All right. So let's be honest and let's have integrity about everything that we do. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here, because we got a lot to cover. All right. Oh, I accidentally took this out. Let me put it back in. Let me go ahead and maximize the screen. And so we have a lot to cover tonight. Celebrating the Shabbat. It is a sign, right? It is a sign from the Most High to his people. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. And prayerfully, this will answer a lot of your questions or give you answers or scriptures, or and also sources that you can use to help witness to your loved ones, family, friends, or even someone that's just not connected to you like that. All right. So before we get started, I'm going to share this video one more time, just so that way we can really put things in this proper perspective tonight. I'm gonna share this video one last time. Here we go.
I'm so glad you're here, because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered? Because they went west.
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
One of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
All right. Just want to share that one last time. I'm not going to stop sharing it, but just for the sake of this presentation, just want to share it one more time, just so that way those that are watching for the first time, those that have trouble with understanding that, Negroes, descendants of slaves, in this country, that we have to understand who we are. And we can say, especially for myself, say emphatically that we are the people of the book. right? We are the people of the book. No matter how we try to slice it and dice it, we are the people of the book. DNA, as that Ashkenazi rabbi pointed out, DNA has confirmed that the first people that landed the slaves, the first batch of slaves that landed in Jamaica, right? They were, even though they used the term Jew, but they were what? Dark melanated people. It said that they were scattered all through the Caribbean, also, southern portions of the United States, even though we could talk about that, but not tonight. But I just want to play that clip just so that way we can really reiterate we being the people of the book. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, family. Let's go ahead and get started. Don't want to prolong it. All right. 16 minutes in, and I want to make sure that we maximize our time. Here we go. Let's start with Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. This is going to be our foundation that we're going to start off with, right? It says here, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work, which he had made, and he rested, Shabbath, on the seventh day from not some work, but all his work which he had made. Now, unfortunately, when you have those that are trying to come up with all kinds of ways to try to prove that we don't have to honor these Shabbat, from the very beginning, the Shabbat was not just designated to the Israelites, it was designated to all, from the first man. Adam honored the Shabbat, right? This foundation here. So many within the church, or many apologists, I'm not just going to say many, but a number of apologists will come up with all kinds of ways to try to say that the Shabbat it's not a requirement to be honored. And they'll try to even say that the Most High worked into the Shabbat. He stopped working in the Shabbat, which is absolutely incorrect. All right. So another thing I want to highlight here, I'm going to take this off the screen so you can see the back here. For many of you guys, for those of you guys that are knowledgeable of how the Bible got to where it is today, you know, these things you learn in school. One of the things that you'll come to understand that chapters and verses, they're not original to the ancient scrolls. They're not original to the manuscripts, the different manuscripts that are out there, right? So chapters were added into the translations when you get to like the 12th century. Verses were added in the 15th, 16th century. There was no pattern, or should I say a system that they put in place to make sure that each chapter, right, from beginning to end, everything that whatever thought that is being discussed in that particular area of block of passages, right, the block of text is going to open, close out that particular thought. Now, what you would see many cases when you're reading the holy text, you'll see, for example, here in chapter 2, actually these first 3 verses is a carryover from chapter 1. Right? You'll see this pattern a lot, like if you go to Isaiah chapter 3, right? Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1 is a carryover from Isaiah chapter 3, dealing with the haughty woman, right? So you'll see this happen a lot. And the benefits of it is that it makes it easier for you to go into the text and go get to exactly what passages and the things that you're looking for, right? That's the plus in it. Right. The minus in it is the same thing. Many people go into it, the text, and start trying to piece certain passages and to make it form a thought or a teaching or a belief that's foreign, that's not in the text. So context is everything. So when you read these first 3 passages, again, this is the continuation of chapter 1. And I can prove this too when you look at verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Right? This is closing out the whole creation process. Genesis chapter 1, right? You'll see there in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth, right? When we look at there, right, from a Hebraic perspective, we'll see that it'll actually say, if you actually did the word by word translation, you will see that it says in the beginning, Elohim created you, the heavens, and you, the earth, right? Created you, the heavens, bara shayath, Elohim, right? Bara, atha, ba shemayam, right? Atha, aratazah, right? In other words, and I'm just quoting off the top of my head, right? Atha, right? Or ath, right? But for the most part, atha, right? Created you the heavens, atha, and you the earth. You the heavens and you the earth. And you can confirm this with this first verse. Thus the heavens and the earth were what? Finished. So there was nothing else created beyond the sixth day. Everybody, by the conclusion of the sixth day, everything was created. It says the heavens and the earth. In other words, the beings that is created for the heavens, the beings that are created for the earth, right? The angels, right? They were created specifically to dwell in what? The heavens. So it's saying all the hosts of the heavens and all the hosts of the earth, guess what? We're finished. We're finished, right? We're finished. So unfortunately, when many get to chapter 4, they teach it as if it's another creation process, which is not, right? But that's a whole nother discussion. There was only one creation. So again, thus the heaven and the earth, the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. So we know that the Most High completed his creation on this day. On the sixth day was the last day of creation, right? In terms of the Most High working. Now, when we get to verse 2, now I bring this back up. And on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work. Makes it clear. But once that seventh day kicked in, the Most High stopped. Once the evening kicked in, the Most High stopped. He didn't continue working and then say, "Oh, let me stop in the while into that day." Doesn't make sense. So, and on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested, Shabbat, on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. All right. So again, Elohim blessed the seventh day. That's what Scripture tells us, right? When we go back here, did I put it here? Or actually, that's verse 3. Right? I didn't put it up here. I thought I did. Right? Verse 3, and I'll just read it from here. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. So we see here Elohim what? Blessed. So let's address this here. Right? And Elohim blessed the seventh day. So here's a couple of Hebrew words that transliterates to bless. There's a couple of Hebrew words, but I'm going to deal with two of them tonight, right? The first one that we're going to deal with is the Hebrew word ashar, right? Ashar. It means to be straight, to go forward, to be honest, relieve. Let me say that again. Ashar means to be straight, right? To go forward, be honest, relieve. Right. So let's go to the 119th book of Psalms. Right. And we're going to read from verse 1 and 2. But when you understand the 119th book of Psalms, for those who really want to learn Hebrew and want to start off by learning the meaning of each word, the 119th book of Psalms is categorized by the letters. So you'll get an understanding by each letter, the meaning of each letter. Right. And so knowing that, you'll understand that every letter is going to teach you to honor the laws, statutes, and commandments. You can't even say you understand Hebrew if you're teaching against the law, statutes, and commandments. You're teaching another language. You teaching a whole completely, you teaching another doctrine. The 119th book of Psalms, the entire chapter, is categorized by each Hebrew letter, right? And so we're going to deal with the alap, which means what? Numerical value is 1. It's going to always point us to the Most High. It means leadership. It means teach, right? It means authority. So let's go ahead and get into it. Don't want to do too much, going to too much of, too many details with that for the sake of time. So the 119th book of Psalms, let's start with verse 1. It says, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of Yahweh. Let me say that again. Blessed are the undefiled in what? The way, right? The way, who walk in the law of Yahweh. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. What's interesting also about the 119th book of Psalms, you'll see a lot of songs were based off of this chapter. You'll see a lot of pastors quote out of this chapter. Yah's word is a light unto our feet, a lamp unto our path. Thy words have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. Well, each one of those passages, they are teaching about keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. So let's put this first verse that I read, blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of Yahweh. Let me give you clarity on it. Not going to talk about it too much, just give you a little clarity on it, right? So what this is saying to you and us, to each one that reads and understand, starting with the very first letter, right? An undefiled person, right? An undefiled person, undefiled, thamayim, right? This word transliterates to the word perfect, right? So we are all required to be perfect. Now, guess what? Perfect according to the Most High. Perfect according to his holy word. Perfect according to the guidelines he established, right? Which means what? Integrity. Integrity that's based on what the Most High, the foundation, the criteria he's laid out. So an undefiled person is someone who walk in the manner, darak, manner, order, path. Darak comes from the primitive root word arak, of honesty and integrity. Must be straight, ashar, right? Must be what? Straight and able to grow and lead, right? Able to grow, halak yam, right? That yam is a masculine plural, means that you have to continue to strive for growth, right? That word undefiled, right? Thamayim, or Thamayam, rather. I said in the Israeli person language pronunciation, im. This tells us that yam, this tells us that this is a what? Ongoing process. This is not a one-time thing. So again, an undefiled person is someone who walks in the manner of honesty and integrity, must be straight and able to grow. You have to continue to grow, and you have to be willing to lead. Right? So let's go to another Hebrew word. So again, I just proved to you that when you see that word bless, it doesn't necessarily mean that it comes from the word barak, far as the Hebrew word. Right? So let's go to barak. Let's go to the barak. It says here to kneel, to bless the Most High. In other words, as an act of adoration. And then you see vice versa. Man as a benefit. Congratulate. So what this is telling us is when we see kneel down, right? To bless the Most High, we're showing our adoration for the Most High, and vice versa. And notice what it says for man, and it put as a benefit. That's why the Messiah said that we were not made for the Shabbat, but the Shabbat was made for us as a benefit to what? Show adoration, show respect, to bless the Most High. Right? And we see congratulate, kneel down, praise, salute, thank. And when we see that word salute, that's what gave me the full understanding of what the Shabbat is. Right? When we see bless, when you bless someone, you're actually saluting that person. Salute. So in the military, again, I was in the military for 8 years. That salute If someone salute you and you don't return the salute, that is a form of disrespect. Whether it's male or female, someone salute you, you have to return the salute. So the Shabbat is the Most High saluting his creation, saluting us. And when we say that we don't have to honor it, we're refusing to salute the Most High. The Most High made it clear that these are the things that pleases him. In Isaiah 53, and I'll see if I could pull it up. I don't think I've included it inside this presentation. But when he deals with the eunuch and when he deals with the non-blood descendants of Israel, the strangers among them, made it clear that they have to what? Honor his Shabbats, plural, not just the seventh day Shabbat, but also the feast days. Those are Shabbats. But also take hold of his covenant, which is the foundational, the covenant, the 10 commandments. Those are the foundational laws. Those 10, that is the covenant. Without those 10, there's no covenant. There's no changes to that. And said that their name will be blessed. They have a good name that's above their sons and daughters by honoring what? And doing the things that pleases the Most High. Now, I know some of us are married here, right? Some of you guys are married that's watching this presentation. I'm sure if you laid out to your spouse the things that pleases you, and they told you right up front that they don't care to do those things, you would not marry that person. If you did and you having problems, that's why. Because the person made it clear that they're not going to do the things that pleases you. And vice versa. Right? We're supposed to do we understand our spouse have certain things that they require from us to please them. Right? They want us to, our spouse want us to approach them a certain way. We have to be very respectful. If we're going to marry into an agreement with them, that's what we're saying. The Most High is saying, hey, these are the things that pleases him. It's not up for us to change that discussion and say, no, it's not. And that was the issue with Cain. Anyone that's saying that we don't have to honor the law, statutes, and commandments, we don't have to honor the Shabbat, guess what? They're operating in the spirit of Cain. That is the spirit of Cain, because Cain wanted to offer sacrifices the way that he wanted to do it, not the way that the Most High told him to. So his whole demeanor changed. His face was bent up. He had an attitude. And that's why the Most High said to him, Cain, why your countenance is all over the place? Why your face is all balled up? You mad because I'm telling you what pleases me? And you want to tell me you want to do it your way? You want to do things your way? I'm telling you how to please me, but that's not good enough for you. You want to do it your way. And I'm telling you, your way is not my way. That's what it really means. So the word Barak, right? The Hebrew word Barak. Each letter gives you an idea of what it means to be what? Blessed, right? Barak. The first letter you see is the Bayath. In the Israeli language, it's pronounced Beth. It means house. It means family. It means bloodline, right? So when you honor the things of the Most High, guess what? It's going to cover your bloodline. And also the Shabbat is a sign forever, right? Forever from the Most High to the Israelites. That means what? Bloodline, our household, our bloodline, generations beyond us. Then when we see the Ra'ash rather, in the Israeli language is pronounced the Resh, we see it means head, top, rank, beginning. This means that you understand protocol. Lastly, we see the Kaf, which means palm of hand. And this is why you see the letter looks like, if you look at the side of your hand, and you see these lines right here, then you can understand what this means. Many of you guys have that V here, right? When you look at those lines on your hand, palm of hand. Nothing like being in the hands of the Most High. Nothing like being in the hands of the Most High and following the hand of the Most High and seeing the hand of the Most High move. Barak. So on the seventh day, Yahweh, he knelt down to show his love, his respect for his creation by presenting his ordained rest. See, the Most High established his ordained, his authorized rest, which is the Shabbat. Right? We want to make it clear here. The Shabbat is ordained by the Most High. When Adam, right, when he sinned, he broke the Shabbat. The Most High went to meet Adam at the cool of the day, like he would normally do, like they had, like what was established, but Adam was missing. Adam was missing. He didn't show up to work. He created his own what? Shabbat. He created his own time off. Doesn't that sound familiar? So Adam created his own day off, his own day of rest, which was out of the will of the Father. And the Father had to ask a question, Adam, where are you? Not just where you are physically, but also, wanting to know that where are you, man? Do you know where you are spiritually? You are out of order. And Adam took what? The fig tree, took the leaves from the fig tree to cover up his decision, to cover up his sins. There's a lot that goes on with that fig tree. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Again, verse 3 tells us that Elohim blessed the seventh day. And he also what? Sanctified it. So let's deal with the word sanctified. Right? The Hebrew word is quadash, right? That's the primitive root, quadash. Some of you guys say kodesh. Actually, the primitive root is quadash, the ancient pronunciation, quadash. It means clean, consecrate, dedicate, keep, proclaim, purify, sanctify. All right. So again, clean, consecrate, dedicate, right? Dedication, feast of dedication, right? Also train up your child, right? You will see the Hebrew word kanak or kanak, right? Train, right? Which you also see the word Hanukkah come from there, kanaka, right? Train. So we see here, appoint, dedicate, right? We could call this an ordination ceremony. When the Most High blessed this day, this is the first ordination ceremony, ordaining this day to be what? The official day of rest, the official day that corporately we all going to worship and acknowledge the Father. It's not just saying to take a day of rest and don't do anything. It says cease from work. But on this day, you're going to use this day to honor the Most High. You're going to worship, honor the Most High, and also allow what? Your body to rest. So not only did Yahweh kneel down to show his love and his respect for his creation by presenting us the seventh day, he also what? Consecrated it. He also what? Ordained it. So let's deal with the Hebrew definition of Shabbat. As we see here, it says desist, cease, celebrate, right? So on the Shabbat, it's supposed to be what? A celebration. Celebrating who? The Father. Right? This is the benefits that come with the territory, is that we're celebrating the Father. We're returning his salute. So we also see keep Sabbath or keep Shabbat, right? Keep. The Hebrew word is shamar, right? Shamar, keep, execute, right? So for us to what? Execute, not just keep. Execute gives more of an accurate translation, accurate understanding of what the Most High is telling us to do. He's making it clear that he wants us to execute his instructions by resting and celebrating him on the Shabbat. Then we see here rest, but make to rest. Some of us, we have to be forced to rest. We will stay so busy that we will not rest. This day right here is a declaration saying you are going to rest on this day. You're going to cease from all work on this day. Still, all right? So rest is important for all of us. Many of you guys are sleeping, but you're not getting rest. Okay? So the Shabbat, going back to each letter, the first letter is what? The The shan, which means teeth, tool, right? The shan, teeth, tool. The pictograph is what? Teeth. So when we think of a saw, then we have Barak. I mean, not Barak, but Bayath, right? In the Israeli language, Beth. But it means house, family, bloodline. Lastly, we see the Tha, which means sign, mark, evidence, proof. So this Shabbat serves as what? A tool also to restore and keep our bloodline intact. And it's also a sign, mark, evidence. So each letter will help us get an understanding of what the Shabbat means and what it is and what the purpose of it. All right. So again, to rest this body, it's a tool for resting this body. It also sign, mark, evidence, proof. What's interesting is this letter right here has a numerical value of what? 400. Signed, proof, evidence. So the Shabbat is a tool in preserving our household, preserving our bloodline. So let's go to Princeton University. And I just want to use this map real quick, 1710, right? When I first started teaching the truth per se, the fullness of the truth, dealing with identity, right? I taught this lesson. This is a clip from the overall presentation. That presentation, I taught that same presentation for over 3 years, to the point that the people in the assembly have it memorized. Okay. Another point I want to point out before we break down this map here, I want to make sure we understand anyone that says that identity doesn't matter, they just threw out the entire book of Genesis. Because the word Genesis, right? The word Genesis comes from the primitive root word gene. Gene means to what? Beget, right? Birth, right? Born of. So there's a number of words that come from that primitive root word, like universal. Universal comes from the word generic. Generic comes from the word what? Gene. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Universal is interchangeable with Catholic, right? Interchangeable with general, interchangeable with generic, which ultimately comes from the word gene, the Proto-Indo-European word gene. So Catholic is spreading a doctrine that's a representation of their seed, not the seed of the Most High, right? That's why we have doctrines. We have all these theologies out here, starting with covenant theology, that is purposely put there to replace Yah's people. All right. So identity is absolutely everything, because on the day of judgment, the Most High is going to bear judgment on his creation, bear judgment starting with Israel, to see if we are what? Identifiable. Matthew chapter 7, right? I did this in your name. I did this in your name. And the Messiah is going to say, get out of my face. Depart from me, worker of iniquity, bender, twister of the law, statutes, and commandments. I never knew you. In other words, you're not identifiable because you're doing what? Bending, twisting his law, statutes, and commandments. So anyone that is teaching contrary, guess what? We are going to have to give them the garbage can. All right, so we give them the garbage can. So let's go ahead and explain this here. Let's explain this map real quick. Right? You guys are familiar with Negro land. You guys are familiar with this, but I'm not going to really get into all of this. This is a whole nother different presentation. But I want to highlight a certain area here. We see the slave coast here. We see Weda, right, which is Judah, contrary to what anyone wants to say. Many will try to take out of context and say that Weda does not mean Judah, right? But we're going to explain that real quick. But I also want to draw your attention to the writing on this particular map, right? And it's Old English. So Old English, for those that have not read Old English, it can be kind of tricky reading it, because you have to really understand how to read it and what letters stand for what in its place. For example, when you see the F, many cases within a word or at the beginning of a word, you'll see F, but it actually you pronounce it with the S. And then here you see the Y, which actually you pronounce it with an A, right? So this writing on this particular map says, I'm credibly informed that a country about 100 leagues north of the coast of Guinea is inhabited by white men, or at least a different kind of people from the blacks who wear clothes and have a use of letters, make silk, and that some of them keep the Christian Shabbat. Now, for me, what drew my attention was when I saw, hey, wait a minute, you saying that you came across white men that wear clothes and you have use of letters, because we know that when we understand things from a historical perspective, when we're dealing with the Caucasians, right, they always explain or view our community as being what? Uncivilized. And matter of fact, I'm going to do something real quick, because I brought this to the attention of our assembly earlier today, and they were really surprised when I had them look this up. So I'm going to do something real quick. Let me add a slide here real quick, so that way I could further bring this to your attention of translations and words have meaning. Words have meaning, family. Words have meaning. We have to be careful. We have to really be careful. Let me see here. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up the etymology dictionary definition of the word pagan. I'm adding it to the presentation right now, so that way I can actually use this as a talking kind of a discussion point as we progress in this presentation. So let me go ahead and give you the definition. And I want to highlight something that's really key here. Something that's really key that some of you guys may be surprised by this. Those that have followed me over the years, you guys already know that I've taught on this. So let me just add this to the slide real quick. All right, just adding the definition here. Something that's key in this etymology dictionary definition. All right, almost there. Let me do one more thing. All right. So let's go ahead and, all right, let's make sure this is added. I'm doing an insert to the presentation on the fly here. So bear with me. Let me make sure that it's there. And I want to really make sure you understand words have meaning. So when you see these many of these translations, especially during that time, during the 16th century on, and you see that word heathen, doesn't necessarily always mean what you think it means. All right. So let's see here. Let me make sure that this is added. All right, there we go. And let's try it here. Let's see if it comes up after this slide here. Let's see here. All right, there it is. Let me make sure that it's the way that it needs to be. Let's see, animation, flow. Oops, don't want that. All right, let's try it again. There we go. All right. So again, and I'm going to cover that give you clarity on the word pagan. But again, as you see here, I am incredibly informed that a country about 100 leagues north of the coast of Guinea is inhabited by white men, or at least, she says, and then she says by white men, but then it says, or at least a different kind of people from the blacks, right? Inhabited by white men, but then again, a different kind of people from the blacks who wear clothes and have a use of letters, make silk and have some of them that some of them keep the Christian Shabbat. So this was a very alarming for me studying this map, because for me, it's like, wait a minute, how is it a shock when you see this word white men wearing clothes and have use of language, letters, writing skills? So I had to think about that. And then to see Christian Shabbat, that's a whole nother thing that we could talk about as well, right? But anyway, to understand this, I was like, wait a minute, right? The Caucasians, right? The Catholic Church, the Christian church, at this time, they viewed our people, the Negroes, slaves. They viewed us, and not just us, but all of Africa. They viewed Africa, the different tribes, whether it's Hamitic tribes or Shemitic tribes or whatever. They viewed all the different tribes within Africa as being uncivilized. An uncivilized person, especially when you deal with the Willie Lynch letter, right? The uncivilized person was someone, a Negro, a slave, a person who did not want to fall in line with its suppressive system. A civilized person from our community was someone who embraced it. So an uncivilized person not embracing their system, a civilized person embracing it, right? So let's go into this word pagan. This is the etymology dictionary definition of the word pagan, and I want to give clarity to this word since we have it here. So family, make a note of this word here so that way you understand exactly what I'm getting ready to share with you, that you will not think that I'm just making things up. I'm giving you sources. Okay, so pagan, person of non-Christian or non-Jewish faith, villager, rustic, civilian, country people. Now, let's go to the next portion of this definition, right? Now, what's interesting, this here, what you see on your screen, if you go to the actual link, because right now I didn't put the entire, the entire passage, as far as the entire breakdown of how they defined this word into this presentation, because it was just a lot, right? So at the bottom of here is what you see on your screen, right? This bullet here, this page rip at the bottom of your screen, that first line, this is where it comes from. If you look it up, you can confirm it as well. Pagan and heathen are primarily the same meaning, but pagan is sometimes distinctively. So up here, this is actually what you would see down here. So I encourage you guys to look it up on your leisure, at your leisure. You can look it up now if you can put another screen up, and you can confirm what I'm sharing with you is accurate and true. So pagan and heathen are primarily the same in meaning, but the pagan sometimes distinctly apply to those nations that, although worshiping false gods, false deities, are more cultivated, as the Greeks and the Romans. Now, notice what it says here. And heathen to uncivilized idolaters as the tribes of Africa. You see what it just did here? It made a distinction, like pagans are like the civilized people that don't believe in the Bible, that are not Bible believers, that are not believers or practicing Judaism and all that stuff. They said they are civilized, right? They are, they are cultivated. But then when they refer to the African tribes, right, you'll see the word heathen, which means to uncivilized idolaters as the tribes of Africa. And it goes on to say a Mohammedan is not counted as pagan, much less a heathen. So this stuff is blatantly right in your face. So that's why words have meaning. And I've been teaching and I've been pushing among our community for years to use the etymology dictionary. And that's why we see more and more using this, using the etymology dictionary, because this is what I teach. Even in our assemblies, I push understanding the history of words, not just the etymology, but also the morphology of the words. But anyway, so nevertheless, we see here that there's a distinction between pagan and heathen. So I want to make sure you understand that. Make a note of that, and we'll return, we'll deal with that another time. So let's go ahead and deal with this map. So as we see here, the English word used later in a narrower sense of one not a Christian, Jew, or Muslim. Okay. So did the Portuguese discover a different kind of white man who actually wore clothes and can write? Why would the Portuguese be surprised at finding a civilized group of white men? Well, Africa and Its Inhabitants, Volume 2 by Ulysses Reclus, he actually gives you proper clarity of that writing on the map. And we're going to use him to explain it, right? The Saracos, in other words, the Sonic people. And I want to make this clear, right? I added this right here because this is who the people are today. Sonic people, Saracos, Sonic people. So I want to make that clear, right? I inserted this right here. That's, and you can see the definition right here on the screen. So Saracos, but if you research the Saracos, they are the Sonic people. So I want to make sure we have that clear. All right, because there's a number of people that's trolling and want to try to find anything they can to try to find it, catch me in an aha moment, right? Especially because of things that have just transpired over the past couple of days. So I want to make this clear, right? This source up here does not have Sonic people here. I added this in the bullet here so that way you understand. If you research who the Saracos are, they are actually the Sonic people of today. So I want to make that clear. So it says the Saracos, right? The Jews of West Africa, but unlike them, are chiefly wholesale dealers carrying on a large caravan trade between Sierra Leone and Timbuktu. And these are the Saracos, or Sonic people. This is them. This is them. And I like to pay attention to even the patterns of their clothing. That's a whole nother discussion, especially when we start dealing with how I was able to identify a few things on the pews in Savannah, Georgia. So we see here, Saracos. These are Saracos, or Sonic people. These are our brothers and sisters here, family. These are our brothers and sisters here. All right. So on page 207, east of Great Popo begins the Dahomey territory, guarded by the important town of Glewe, known to Europeans by various names of Fida, Heveda, Wida, Wida and Wida, right? Wida and Wida. So let me read this again, right? Known to Europeans by the various names of Fida, Heveda, Wida, or Wida. And notice what it says on the next page, or the next bullet. The old writers called it Judah. Let me say that again. The old writers called it Judah. Let me say it one more time. The old writers called it what? Judah. So no matter how many may try to bend and twist this history, the old writers called this territory Judah. It had that name for a reason. So anyone that tried to say that it was not, that word Wida or Wida has no relation to Judah, let's give them the garbage can. And let's give them a 3-piece and toss this junk garbage, or should I say junk doctrine, out. Okay, so family, you could play around with Google, and you could type in Wida there, the same pronunciation that you see here, right? You could type Wida there, and guess what? It's going to point you to Judah. You could just do that with a simple Google test. All right, but anyway, the old writers called it Judah, and its inhabitants were said to be Jews, while the neighboring river Alala, whose real name is Ephra, became the Euphrates. Okay, so let's go to 410, page 410. Africa and its inhabitants, page 410. All right, 410. Here we go. A part of the local trade is in the hands of the Mavumbas, a people of grave and solemn aspect with intelligent eyes. In other words, saying that their eyes are shaped a little different, right? They still melanated people, but just saying that their eyes are a little shaped a little different. It says straight or even aquiline nose, right? Saying that their nose is not as wide, but still dark people, who they just highlighted some of some physical traits that they noticed was a little different, right? Whose pronounced Semitic type has earned for them. Notice what it says here. The Portuguese designation, Judeos-Praeton or Black Jews. They may certainly be regarded as of Jewish origin. The origin of what? The ancient people. Origins of the ancient people. This is not referring to Caucasians. Origins of the ancient people, the ancient biblical people. If the statement be true that they are strict observers of this Shabbat, you see Sabbath, but the actual Hebrew name, word for it is Shabbat. So it says they honor the Shabbat, abstaining even from all conversations on that day. Notice it didn't put in there Christian Shabbat. They did not look at Sunday as being the Shabbat. They honored the seventh day Shabbat. They also honored the circumcisions and other things, holy days, and it's proven that many of them were doing these things. All right. Said they even abstain from conversation. All right. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm not getting into all of that right now, as I did earlier in at our Shabbat service. So is the Messiah our Shabbat? Let's address this here, because one of the talking points you guys will hear, if you heard this before, and hit type 1 inside the comment section. Have you heard that those that have taught this thing, have you heard that Christ is our Shabbat? If you heard that, type 1 inside the comment section and we'll acknowledge it. All right. If you have heard from those within the church, from the Christian church, stating that the Messiah is our Shabbat, type 1. If you haven't, type 2. But if you have, type 1. All right. All right. So let's go through some of see who put the ones here. We have Sister Carol. She put 1. Appreciate you, Sister Carol. Shalom to you, sis. Jasmine Johnson. Shalom to you. Type 1. So I've heard it before. My buddy Jay Highstyle heard it before. Dr. J, appreciate you. Charles West. 1. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate the participation. Melanin Mina. Appreciate you for the participation. She typed 1. Angie Love Yah, appreciate your interaction. Type 1. Yvette Rivera, type 1. Monica, type 1. What's this here? Let's see here. Zena M, you mean we can't keep the Shabbat anytime? We wasn't because we test in Jesus. I'm not sure what they mean, but the Shabbat is designated for this 7th day of the week. That is the Shabbat. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you cannot make your own Shabbat. The feast days, the holy days, are also considered a Shabbat. And those can fall on, it could be fall on the 7th day. It can fall on any day of the week. Those holy feast days are considered a Shabbat. There was also a 1-week Shabbat. There was also a 1-month Shabbat. There's also a 1-year Shabbat to allow the land to rest. So I'm not sure if this answers your question. I hope it does, but we don't have the power to say that we're going to make the Shabbat on whatever day we feel like is convenient to us, right? That's not what we're supposed to do. Then we're changing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. All right. Hope that answers your question. Okay. Shirley, let's see here. Shirley Greer, 1. Oakland Park, 1. Peace and blessings to everyone. Stacy Pullum, 1. Let's see here. Miss B, 1. Zena M, appreciate your participation again. 1. Let's see here. Q Sides, 1. So pretty much inspired identity, 1. Tried in the way, 1. So you guys are in agreement. You all heard this before. Tubi, 1. Antoine Smith, 1. Let's see who else. A few more we'll see here. Candice, I can't see it. Candice Elaray. Hope I pronounced your wrong name correctly. And we got a couple of 2s here. Tubi put 2. Antoine Smith actually said 2, so they haven't heard this. Let's see here. Who else? Devorah Cotton, Yaj Grace. Let's see here. Empress Nia Love. Really appreciate you, sis. Appreciate your support as well. Bobby Arnold 2, Sister Yvette 1. So we have, for the most part, going through the voting here, pretty much almost everyone, most of you guys have heard this, right? Most of you guys have heard this talking point. So what we're going to do here, I am going to give you proper clarity on that talking point that you hear a number of people use. All right. So is the Messiah our Shabbat? Because many will say we don't have to honor the Shabbat because Christ is our rest. Well, let's go to Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29. Let's see exactly what that text says. It says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Right? It goes on to say, "Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." So, but we're going to hone in on verse 28. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest." Now, why didn't they transliterate it and put I will be your Shabbat? That's not in the text. That's actually modifying, adding, and interpolating the text, which there's law, statutes, and commandments. That speaks against changing the text. So let's deal with the Greek word in this text, right? That we're dealing with, right? Here we see that we don't see Shabbat. We do not see Shabbat here. And not pauses, right? Or actually, that's a different one right there. I'm quoting something different here. So power. Greek is not my thing, but I was trying to pronounce it here. Hebrew is my thing. Right. Anyway, I'm not going to butcher it anymore. Right. That's my last time trying to butcher that one. But we see, right, the Greek word here says to refresh, take ease, refresh, take, give, take, rest. In the sub-entries, we see, especially the 2 that I wanted to highlight on, it says to give rest, refresh, to give oneself, right? Oneself rest, take rest, to keep quiet, of calm and patience, expectation. So we see that this word here, this Greek word here, I'm not going to butcher it again. I'll stick to the Hebrew side of things, right? That's my area. But we see that this word here has nothing to do with the Shabbat. Let me say it again. This word here has nothing to do with the Shabbat. So I want to make this clear. Do you see Sabbath? Do you see Shabbat? This gives you the origins of this word here, right? But do you see Shabbat? Right? And a power, right? You don't see this word here, right? You don't see Shabbat. You don't see Shabbat as being referenced in this as we look at the as it gives you a breakdown of this word, how this word evolved. You don't see Shabbat as part of the primitive roots of this particular word. You don't see the Greek entry of this word, but it says here, take to refresh, take ease, refresh, give, take, rest, to keep quiet, calm. All right. So let's deal with the Greek definition of Shabbat. Let's see what it says. All right. So again, my apologies for butchering the Greek here. Right. Again, my apologies. I left the Greek alone a while back, so I've been focusing on the Hebrew for years. But nevertheless, we see Shabbat, Sabbaton, right? And notice what it says here. The Shabbat, right? It says Shabbat, right? Right now it says Sabbath right here. Sabbaton, right? This can be plural. And when you look at the actual Greek manuscript, you see Sabbaton when we're dealing with the around the time of the Messiah when he was lynched. Some would say crucified, but you'll see Sabbaton there, which means that there was what? More than one Shabbat in that week. That's a whole nother discussion. But we see here Sabbath. But notice it says, an example, Shabbath. Sabbath is a Greek pronunciation. Sabbath is a Greek pronunciation. Shabbat is the actual pronunciation. So when you hear me say Shabbat, guess what? When you hear others say Shabbat with a tha, right? That's letting us know that that's Hebrew. That's ancient Hebrew, not Sabbath, right? And notice not Shabbat. because Shabbat is a completely different word in Hebrew. Shabbat means scepter, right? Scepter. So when you see in Exodus, I believe chapter 49, or actually 48, I believe, when it says the scepter should not be what? Will stay in Judah, will not be removed from Judah till Shiloh comes. We'll see Shabbat, not Shabbath. So that makes a world of a difference. Sabbath is a Greek pronunciation. Shabbat is the actual pronunciation. But notice what it says, day of weekly. It goes on to say here, the interval between two Shabbats. In other words, 7 days Shabbat, then the next 7 days Shabbat, right? Likewise, the plural, or this could be what? The 1 week Shabbat, right? But anyway, the plural in all the above applications, we have Sabbath day. So we can see that the Shabbat can be a day, but it also could be what? A week. As you see up here in the background here, you see Sabbath day, Sabbath week, right? And we see here the institution of the Sabbath, the law for keeping holy every 7th day of the week. All right. So this is giving us some additional clarity on this. Okay. So is our Messiah our Shabbat? We just proved that he's not. The Most High is not our Shabbat. He said that the Shabbat was what? Made for us, not we for the Shabbat. So the Most High, the Messiah never said that he's going to be the Shabbat. Okay. Hope we gave clarity on that. So the Shabbat is also a sign, mark, proof, and evidence of the covenant the Most High made with Israel. Let me say that again. The Shabbat is also a sign, mark, proof, and evidence of the covenant the Most High made with Israel. Let me say it one more time. The Shabbat is a sign. It is a sign, mark, proof, evidence of the covenant the Most High made with Israel. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 13 through 17. Let's prove this. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, my Shabbats, right? Plural there, Shabbats, ye shall keep. Shamar, in other words, execute. For it is a sign, awath, between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. So the Most High is saying that these Shabbats is what? A sign. Sign means what? Proof, evidence between Israel and the Most High. And there was a number of key signs that was done on the Shabbat. And we're going to cover a couple of them here. There was a number of signs, important signs that was revealed on the Shabbat. The Shabbat is a sign. One of the most important signs is the resurrection. It was done on what? The Shabbat. It was not done on the first day of the week. All right. It was done on the Shabbat. So again, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, or Shabbat you shall keep. For it is a sign, awath, between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you, quadash, sanctify you, ordain, consecrate you. Verse 14, ye shall keep, Shamar, ye shall keep, ye shall keep, you shall execute, we shall execute the Shabbat. Therefore, it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days, and let me go back here because I want to just brush over this, because one of the talking points many will use, hey, you know what? Since you guys say that we're supposed to honor the Shabbat, we see how come you're not murdering someone? How come you're not stoning someone? Because, hey, they broke the law and you're supposed to what? Stone them. Family, that's not how the process works. Right? That's not how the process works. There's a process. But guess what? We still have to abide by the law, statutes, and commandments of this country. And there was a certain group designated, right? There were elders, there were judges that was designated to mitigate the situation. So that way no one can just come out and say, hey, that person did this without proof. Right? The Most High didn't tell the men not to stone the woman. But of course, she went through whatever process that was in place. But he said, "Hey, ye without sin, cast the first stone." That means that those guys had some indiscretions about them. So understand this: when we understand, we can't just take it upon ourselves to carry out these things, because number one, when we look at Israel during the time of the Messiah, they were under the Romans. It was the Romans that carried out the capital punishment. Even though the Messiah went through the Sanhedrin, right, which is the Israelites, and many of them, most on the Sanhedrin was not Israelites. Let me correct myself. Most of them were Herodians that was appointed by King Herod. They were Edomites. So I want to make sure I give clarity on that. So, but nevertheless, Israel still had to go through the Romans, right, to carry out capital punishment. So likewise today, we can't just go up and just start killing or taking someone's life. No, there's a process, and we have to obey the process. But those are some of the things that you hear people say to try to say, "Hey, well, that person broke the law. Well, how come you guys not stoning them?" No, it doesn't work that way. All right, there's a process in place, because you should, if you want to ask that question, how come the Sanhedrin didn't stone the people, stone the Messiah right there in front of them? Why did they have to go to the Romans? Okay. Anyway. Verse 14, ye shall keep the Shabbat, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Verse 15, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh day, and make a note of that, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Shabbat rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day or the Shabbat, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat. In other words, execute it, right? Execute the instructions to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations. For it is what? A perpetual covenant. It is a continual covenant. That's what going down from generation to generation. Perpetual, awalam. It is a perpetual covenant. Verse 17, it is a sign. There we have it, a sign. In other words, proof, evidence between me and the children of Israel. What? Forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he what? Rested and was refreshed. Verse 18, and he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimonies, tables of stone, written with the finger of Elohim, right? So we see here, even in the text, just this verse right here, it knocks down anyone that is saying that, hey, you know what? That these laws, this covenant belongs to Moses. No, the Most High wrote these covenants. He wrote these covenants. He wrote this covenant, right? Not these covenants, plural. He wrote this covenant that was initially given to Abraham, right? We could go even further. We go all the way back to the beginning, but we know that the same covenant that the Most High gave to Abraham is the same covenant he gave to Moses. Because guess what? The covenant, when he gave it to Abraham, as far as pinpointing who is going to take over from Shem, right? Abraham, right, is the one that was anointed to do so. But anyway, here we see that the covenant, which is the 10 commandments, that is the covenant. The Most High wrote it on what? The tablets of stone. He wrote it with his own handwriting, his own hand. Moses had proof, evidence that the Most High wrote these 10 commandments. 10. The yod, the Hebrew letter, letter for number 10 is the yod. It means what? Redemption. Right? These are the 10. This is the covenant that we need to carry in order to be what? Properly redeemed. Without these 10 commandments, guess what? You have no covenant. You just have what? A blank piece of paper. And that's what many teach, that we just have a get out of jail free card. This is the very thing that's going to be what? Written in our hearts. That's why I say I'm going to give you this covenant, unlike how I had given to those, the Israelites that was in the wilderness. Right? And they're coming out of the wilderness. He wrote it on what? 2 big stones. It was written on 2 big stones. But he said it's not going to just be etched in stone. These are going to be what? Etched in your heart. So that way, even when you don't see these stones, it's going to be inside your heart. Circumcision of the heart. Moses told them in the children of Israel in Deuteronomy 10 that they needed to have their hearts circumcised. And then in Deuteronomy 30, he gave a prophecy that one day the Most High is going to circumcise their heart. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So we see that, guess what? These are not the law of Moses. These are the commandments of the Most High. And it said he gave unto Moses. He gave unto Moses, right? For him to what? Give to the children of Israel. Just like he gave the covenant to Abraham, and Abraham had to give it to his descendants, his house. Just like when prior to Abraham, he established the covenant with Noah. Noah had to give it to what? His household. Prior to Noah, guess what? We see Adam. The Most High gave that covenant to Adam, and he had to what? Establish it. He had to explain it to his wife and future children to come. So the covenant was created in the beginning, and then we see it was handed down, established with Noah. It didn't say created with Noah. It was established with Noah. Then when it was given to Abraham, it was established with Abraham. When it was given to Israel, it was established. Established does not mean new. It means to make stable. All right. So my Shabbats, ye shall keep, for it is a sign. It is a sign. It is a sign. All right. It is a sign. Now we also understand grace. Let me just highlight that real quick. See, that's the key to grace, is that even though some of the things that we have done in disobedience warrants death, the Most High has given us grace that we don't have to deal with the immediate punishment of it. We have a way of escape. This block of time that we live in, if we were living in the biblical times, many cases we wouldn't even have another opportunity through the laws to get it right. Right? Grace gives us an opportunity that we don't have to deal with the death portion of the laws, the penalty, that particular penalty. It gives us an opportunity to circumvent that penalty. All right. So just had to clear my throat here. Okay. So let's deal with sign. I gave it to you, but let's deal with it here. Awath or oth. Right now we see it says oath. Right. We see the colon by at the top, and not getting into all of that. So oath, right? But actually it's awath or oth. Right. But we see here a signal, evidence, miracle, mark, miracle, proof. Right. So that's what sign means from a Hebraic perspective. Evidence, mark, miracle, proof. See, family, I'm going to prove to you that your skin complexion is a sign. Your identity is a sign. Those are signs. Those are key signs. Those that proof. I'm going to show you. Every time you look in the mirror, guess what? You see the miracle. You see the sign. The problem is we were taught incorrectly that we disregard this sign. We are embarrassed of this sign because of institutional racism, because of these religious systems of Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism taught us incorrectly. We all love that Clark. I used to love the Clark sisters, especially I'm looking for a miracle. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm looking for a miracle. I expect the impossible. What is it? I'm looking for a miracle. I expect the impossible. I see the invisible. Whatever. Right? You guys know the song, the Clark sisters. Back in the what was that? I want to say the 80s. The 80s is when that song was like hitting. But I'm looking for a miracle. I expect the impossible. Right? I expect the intangible. I see the invisible. The skies is a limit to what I can have. But guess what? We don't have to look for a miracle, because when you look in the mirror, you are the miracle. You are the sign. You are the proof. You are the evidence. So when you move, guess what? It's like the scripture says, the signs and wonders shall follow you. So just the backdrag, just the mere backdraft or the drag as you move, people will feel They'll see the signs on you without you even ever having to open your mouth in many cases. Guess what, family? You are the sign. You are the proof. You are the evidence. Hallelujah. Let's move forward here. So let's go to Exodus chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. Right? We're going to prove right now just what I laid out. Just what I laid out. Oh, now I see what's the issue here. Yeah, that was the mix up. I see what the issue is. My presentation was correct, but I had one thing that was there that's not. Let me pull it out real quick. All right, because I was doing this earlier and it looked like my presentation was out of whack, and I see what happened here. So let me fix it real quick. All right, because I saw another verse there, and that's not supposed to be there. So let me take that out. There we go. Now I just fixed it. All right, here we go. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and read verse 1 and 2. And Masha, that's Moses' ancient name, Masha, answered and said, but behold, they will not believe Amayan, which comes from the word Aman, which means to be consistent. It means to trust. It means believe. It means to go to the right hand. So Amayan or Amyan, however you want to pronounce it, but it comes from the primitive root word Aman. So they would not believe me, nor hearken Shammai, which means to what? Listen with intelligence unto my voice. For they will say, Yahweh hath not appeared unto thee. Right? Because they know that Moses fled. So now Moses is saying, look, Yah, you want me to go do this work, but the people is not going to believe me. They know your literal name, but they just don't understand the power. They don't understand the authority. They don't understand your reputation. They don't understand the glory that comes with your name. So I need proof. I need signs. I need proof, evidence. But this is key. Verse 2. And Yahweh said unto him, what is that in thine hand? Yod. What is that in your hand? Yod. And he said, a rod, matad. That's the Hebrew word for rod. He said, a rod. See, Moses, right, had it, and the answer to his question right in the palm of his hand, the cup of his hand, Yod. He had the sign right in the palm of his hand. He had his identity right in the palm of his hand. And he just didn't realize how powerful that staff was, that rod is. That's his identity, right? Because when we understand David told Saul, hey, I can't wear these clothing that you're giving me. I can't wear this armor you're giving me because it's not tested. In other words, it haven't been tested and proven for him. It's not a sign. It's not an evidence to him. All the things that comes with the territory of being a shepherd, far as his staff, is also his signet, for us the ring, his bracelets, right? And also his shepherd bag. All of those things are what? Things that come with the territory of identifying a shepherd, especially among Israel. Matter of fact, many of our ancestors that fled deeper into Africa, they were called the wandering sheep herders. That's a whole nother discussion. So when we understand that, think of Judah and what Judah did with his daughter-in-law. He didn't know that his daughter-in-law disguised herself, but Judah, for a moment of pleasure, what did he give her? He gave her his ring, which is his signet ring, his identity, part of his identity. He gave her his staff, which is part of his identity. He gave her his bracelet, all the things to identify him. He gave it away for a moment of pleasure. So when we get to this text, Moses spent 40 years, right? He fled when he was 40, but 40 years he's what? With Jethro, right? He married his daughter. Now he's learned really getting more in depth about his culture, his identity, but he was a shepherd, but he still didn't understand the importance of that staff being what? His identity. His identity. So the Most High said, What's that in your hand? He said, a rod. He didn't even realize the power of his identity. He said, a rod. Now, in Hebrew, this is the lamad, right? Numerical value is 30, right? In Hebrew, right? This letter means staff. It means disciple. It means to learn. And the Israeli pronunciation of it is lamud. But actually, in the ancient pronunciation, is lamad. That's the primitive root word as well. Staff, disciple, to learn. In other words, when you say you're a disciple, you're saying that you are what? Willing to learn, that you are, you mastered learning, not just teaching, but learning, right? Numerical value is 30. Remember, the Messiah started his ministry at 30. When you start really reading and the importance of the number 30, you'll see that you know when you start dealing with elders, and especially working in certain functions within the temple, you had to be 30 and above. That's a whole nother discussion. So the 30, we see the letter lamad, we see that staff, disciple, to learn, and that's the pictograph, right? This is the pictograph. Also looks like a hook, right? But you see the staff. That's what Moses had in his hand. So now let's connect all of this. Let's deal with these two signs real quick. Exodus chapter 4, verse 6 through 8, right? This is what it says. And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was what? Leprous as what? Snow. His hand was leprous as snow. This said that he what? He put his hand one way, he was dark, right? His hand was dark, looking like you and I. But once he took his hand out, his hand became what? No, he had no pigmentation in his hand. So why is this significant? Why is this important? Because understand, Moses had to present this sign among thousands upon thousands to prove that he was sent by the Most High, because they're going to test him to see, all right, let's see, Moses, you said you were sent by the Most High. We want to do a test. We want to prove, we want to show and prove whether or not you were sent by the Most High. So Moses is saying, look, give me a sign, Yah. So now we see in this text, the Most High is using Moses' skin complexion as a sign. Wait a minute. Come on, family. If we just take the time and just really read the text, if we just take the time to really read the text, not from a perspective trying to establish bullets and talking points, guess what? We just really read the text for what the text actually says. Guess what? Then we will put things in its proper perspective. We will understand what the text is actually saying. We will understand what the Most High really trying to get us to understand about these signs. You know, that, hey, it's right here in the text, right? And I'm going to put an image here so that way you guys get the illustration when many say that, hey, Moses, along with the rest of the Israelites, were Caucasians. Guess what? I'm going to show you a picture of an illustration of what they're actually saying. So that way you can, this is not trying to poke fun at anyone, but this just so that way you can understand the fullness of what they are actually trying to say. So let me put this image in here. You guys know I like to give you imagery. So if someone say, hey, you know what, being a Israelite, right? Or the Messiah, they were Caucasians. Nah, they weren't. So let me go ahead and put this here. I think I have it here. Okay. Let me make sure it's there. All right. Let me put it in here. I'm just editing this presentation. You guys know I like my presentation to be a certain way, so that way it's easier for you guys when you go back through it. The visuals will make it easier for you to really take in what's being said. All right. So let's get back over here. Verse 6. And Yahweh said furthermore, right, unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. In other words, he lost pigmentation of his hand. And he said, put thy hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. Verse 8, and it shall come to pass, if they will not believe thee, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign. In other words, showing the staff as his identity. He said that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. He said, if they don't believe that, that staff, the identity of you to prove that the Most High sent them, right? He said the next thing, guess what? If they don't believe that sign, they'll definitely believe this sign. They should believe this sign. Why did he say that? They will really believe that the Most High sent him by seeing his skin complexion change. Why would he say that? Right? So this image right here, this is the imagery that we are led to believe. You guys seen this on my community channel. This is the imagery. This is what they want us to believe. Right? This is what they want us to believe. Now, family, something is not right here, right? This is what they want us to believe, that when the Messiah went with Joseph leading his family to Egypt, they want us to believe that this is how the Messiah blended in with the Egyptian kids. Come on now. We can't even. Come on, family. We got to be real with this. This is what they're saying, Joseph among the Egyptians. This is what they're saying, Paul. Remember, Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. They're saying this is Paul among the Egyptians. Come on, family. Come on. He went to Egypt, right? Egypt, dark melanated people. And this is what they're trying to get us to believe took place. Now look at how these kids looking surprised. These kids looking at them like, what in the world? Who this guy? Who is this, Harpo? Come on, fam. Let's give the garbage can to this family. Right? Like, share, subscribe. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to the channel. This is what we do over here. We go into depth, detailed study of the holy text to wake up Yah's people. Hallelujah. Matter of fact, I got to upload another animation, right? I got to upload another animation. I know I show a lot of animations. I'm going to upload another animation. I got to add one too here. I got a funny one here. I may do it tonight. If not, I'll do it another time because I just don't want to force it either. Let me add this animation here. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I'm going to add this animation. All right. So as that uploads, right? So we give the garbage can for anyone that's teaching this junk doctrine. Okay. So this is not an accurate depiction of the illustration that we see with the text. So someone said, let's give them a 3-piece. Yeah, let's give a 3-piece. We'll have to give a 3-piece and a couple of side orders here, or a couple of additional, fries and, a pie. We're going to have to give some extra. We're going to have to give some sides here to this order. So let's give it a 3-piece. All right. Let's give it a couple of sides. All right. And let's toss it out. All right. So yeah, they anyone teaching this, they deserve it. They deserve the 3-piece plus the combination. All right. Let's give the dumpster one more time since we got a request for the dumpster. Let's give them the dumpster one more time. Never gets old. The dumpster never gets old. Right. Let's give them the dumpster. All right. All right. There we go. Let's continue. All right. So this is not an accurate depiction. Okay. So the second sign for the non-believing Israelites is Moses' skin complexion. Fact. So does color matter when it comes to salvation? See, this is the problem. We know that those signs, the Most High gave Moses the sign. to bring to Israel as what? Signs, proof, evidence to get them to what? Believe. So that's part of salvation. The problem is if you ask the average Christian, what does salvation mean? And see, I do this, been doing these exercises in our assembly for years on top of years. The ministers have 3 minutes to explain what salvation is. The ministers have 3 minutes to explain who the Messiah is. The ministers have 3 minutes to explain who the Holy Spirit is. I give them 3 minutes. We have 3 minute challenges, right? To where as though they have to explain certain things within 3 minutes, because when you're doing evangelism, you have a 3 minute window. Many cases it's smaller than that. So we do simulations of when you out there, you have 3 minutes to explain yourself to this person, because that's all you have. So when you ask the average person in the church, well, what is salvation? They're just going to tell you believing in the Lord Savior Jesus Christ. That's what they're going to say. But we cannot leave it there. It's more to salvation, just saying, but believing in the Lord Savior Jesus Christ. So we have to define the word salvation for you to really understand what salvation means. So the Hebrew definition of salvation, as we see here, Yasha or Yashai, right? But Yasha, it says here, to be open, to be safe, right? Free, right? Avenging, defend, deliver, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, get victory. That's what it means to have salvation. That's what the Messiah said. He came to do what? Bring salvation to Israel, to make them safe, avenge, defend, deliver, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, right? Salvation, having salvation, bringing salvation, save, savior, get victory. That's what it means. Come on, family. We got to get beyond what we've been taught. That's what salvation means. To get the victory, to salvage what others declared to be unsalvageable. There's more to us than just saying salvation, than just saying, I believe in the Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Well, truly, many don't even understand the word believe. Because again, believe comes from the Hebrew word aman, which means transliterates to believe, trust, consistency, permanent, knowing how to go to the right hand, right? You can't say that you understand salvation and you teaching against his commandments, which I proved. So skin complexion was used as what? A sign, so that way the Most High can what? Confirm that he's now getting ready to what? Bring salvation, deliver his people. But they needed a sign knowing that he exists. In other words, the Most High exists. All they knew was the suppressive system, the suppressive or oppressive system of the Egyptians. Now they have a sign to know that the Most High is not just lip service. The Most High is not just a literal name, but also the action, the reputation behind it. So why would Yahweh use Yahweh use Moses' hand? See, you guys, I did this while I was dozing off trying to put this together here. So I apologize for the typo. But why would Yahweh use Moses' hand changing color as a sign for the Israelites? See, this is all messed up. This, you could tell I don't know what was happening to me. I needed to get rest at this time. But why would he use Moses' skin complexion as a sign for the Israelites, the non-believing Israelites? Well, here's the answer. Y'all know I use this for this source for quite some time, and I use it quite often. For years, atop of years. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia definition of ruddy. This is going to give you the answer. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective when used as a term of praise of the human skin. So this telling us that what? The Israelites, guess what? They really took pride in their beautiful skin. So if the ancient Israelites took pride in their beautiful skin, why can't we? Because we're the people of the book. We need to take pride in our beautiful looking skin. Right? We could go to the scriptures and see the term black is beautiful, right? That's a whole nother discussion when we're looking at Songs of Solomon chapter 1, King Solomon's wife, right? But guess what? Our dark skin is beautiful. So when you see ruddy, the actual meaning of ruddy is used as a term of praise of what? The human skin. But notice what it says here. And this is true, and this is its use in the Bible. Let me say it again. And this is its use in the Bible. The Hebrew, in other words, the Hebrew and the Greek words are all usually words for read or to be read. But notice this part right here. It says the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a what? Clear complexion. Let me say that again. The dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Let me say it one more time. The dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Let me say it again. Ruddy is the form. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of the human skin. And this is its use in the Bible. The Hebrews and Greek words are all usually words for read or to be read. But again, the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. So family, don't let anyone tell you to stop dancing. Don't let anyone tell you that not to take pride, because you always have people that throw butts in it. Well, I know that, now that you, especially once you prove that the Messiah is dark melanated. Well, I know that understand that the Messiah is, that he black, but you know what, that's good, but that's not going to get you into the kingdom. We know that the Messiah is black, but we know that you are an Israelite, but being an Israelite is not going to guarantee you into the kingdom. Always buts behind the things that we're bringing to the attention that we should do what? Do this right here. We should be shouting. We should be dancing. We should be celebrating this sign that the Most High has given us. See, there's something beautiful about you, Judah. There's something special about you, Israel. There's something special about all of our people. So you guys should be doing what right now, just by me sharing with you this source right here, that none of them would be able to knock down. Why? Because this is what the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, right? You also have the ISB translation, right? So you should be dancing. You should be celebrating, of understanding that you should do this every time you look in the mirror. You should do this. Anyway, that's how you guys should be every time you look in the mirror. Every time you look in the mirror, you should be praising the Most High, because you see the sign. You see the sign. That's right, J High Style. David, he was doing that dance. He was doing that dance, and guess what? He danced right out of his clothes. He was doing this. That's right. That's right. That's right. Hallelujah. So again, when you look at your dark skin, guess what? The ancient Israelites, that's right. The ancient Israelites, the dark-skinned ancient Israelites, the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty and a clear complexion. All right. So let me give you another source. I want to touch on Amos. And before I explain this, let me show a couple of clips, because you're going to have a few people that want to try to say, hey, Amos is not really touching on skin complexion. But sometimes we have to hear it from other people in order for it to really sink in. So let me share with you a couple of clips, and then we'll explain this and we'll get ready to wrap this up. Here we go.
according to Amos, chapter 9, verse 7. Check this out. I saw this verse, I was floored. It says, Israel, these northern tribes, Nikreu, they are called Kushim. They call Kushim. The word Kushim comes from the word Kush. Kush is Ethiopia, or the area surrounding Ethiopia. And it says that Israel is likened, or they are called Kushim, as it is say. Kushim comes from the word black. As it is says, this is from the Talmud, quoting Amos chapter 9, verse 7, Alo kebnei Kushim atem li. You are Israel like the sons of the Kushim. You, Israel, are called Kushim. Why? The prophet is telling us that there is part of Israel, let's call them the remnant. Let's call them those who have been scattered, who are like the Kushim. Now, when the prophets speak about them, he's not speaking about them in a favorable way. Why? Because they have been scattered. They have been gone. They are no longer there. Look at this. It says in Amos, to me, O Israelite, you are just like it's translated as Ethiopians, but it does not say Ethiopians. That's not what Hebrew Holy Tongue says. Let us not manipulate the Holy Tongue. It says Kushim, atem libnei Israel. You are like the Kushim, declares the Lord. Why? Because Israel is there in the Kush. True, I brought Israel up from the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines from Kaftor and the Armenians from Kir. Okay? Israel, number one, make yourself the note, Israel has a name. And one of the names that Israel is called by is Kushim. Kushim is a generic name for anybody who is black. Now, I want to be careful here. I am not saying that every black person is from the seed of Israel. That's not what I'm saying.
All right, so you see what he's saying here. You see what he's saying here. What he's saying is that, and I'm going to explain it so that way it confirms what I'm going to talk about. I touched on this before. He is saying that when you see him say Kushi, right? He's saying that Kushi means black. So he's saying that Israel, you are just like the Ethiopians. You're just like Cush in terms of what? Your appearance. You're dark, just like Cush. And notice what he said, the remnant. He said the remnant of Israel is scattered. So y'all have to listen to what he said. He's recognizing that we are the remnant. We are Yah's people that scattered abroad. And he made it clear that he's not saying that every person of dark skin is Israel, but he's making it clear, explaining Amos, because he got the revelation. He was reading Amos, that's his testimony. This just blew him away when he read this particular chapter. And when he got to this, it floored him. Do you know there's a lot of rabbis out there that get to this point and they know this truth and would not make a public declaration like he did? He literally shifted. He could not believe it. That he's sharing it. What you see this video is shortly after he realized what the scripture was saying. So that's why he sound kind of excited. That's why he kind of sound like he's not getting it out clearly. Because just like when we start seeing certain things in the text, man, you want to tell everybody you're so excited, but you're not articulating yourself the way that you can. Because what? Why? It's fresh. So let me share with you what he's actually saying. Right? I thought I had the book in here with me. I think I left it into my other office. I would show it. So let me explain to you exactly what he's saying, right? This is a book called The Prophets, right? Nevi'im. This is a translation of the Torah, right? This is a translation of the, what you have the Tanakh, right? This is another translation of the Tanakh as well, as far as the Septuagint. You'll see this here. This is a great translation here to get, right? And this is closer to the Tanakh, as far as the actual translation of like the 1917 Tanakh. And so when you see me posting scriptures, sometimes that's what I'm pulling out of the Tanakh, right? So again, this is a great source. This is how it reads. To me, O Israelites, you are just like the Ethiopians, declares Yahweh. That's how it reads, right? Then when we go to the Tanakh, right? This is the Tanakh. To me, O Israel, you are just like the Ethiopians, right? This is the Peshitta. Behold, you are like the Ethiopians to me, O children of Israel. So we see a difference of how it's being presented, but it reads differently when you get to the KJV. When you get to some of these other translations, the Peshitta is the Aramaic translation of the holy text, right? That comes from the ancient Hebrew. This did not come from the Greek manuscripts. The Peshitta is a whole separate set of manuscripts that came from the Hebrew. So for those that don't want to deal with the Greek manuscripts, guess what? This right here, deal with this manuscript, because we got a lot of brothers and sisters that are teaching the Piso theories about the Greeks wrote the New Testament and created the Messiah. All kinds of gibberish that's out there. But if you feel like you don't want to read the translations that we have, the KJV and the some of the other translations out here, then go to the Peshitta. I go to the Peshitta as well, because the Peshitta, again, the Peshitta is Aramaic, right? Many teach that during that time they spoke Aramaic, but nevertheless, the Aramaic manuscripts is what this come from. When the King James translation was put together, this wasn't included. This was not used to put that together. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys understand and get the Peshitta Bible. If you just feel like you don't want to deal with these translations, but don't let people come to you and manipulate you by saying, hey, how come we only see the Greek translations of the Bible? How come we only see the Greek manuscripts? There's a lot of things we could go that I can explain just that in itself. But we have this right here, Aramaic, the Aramaic translation of the text that includes what many will label the New Testament. And that's a whole nother discussion. All right. So just want to share that with you. So we see here, let's go back here. Let's rewind a little bit. In this source, the prophets, Nevi'im, right? Translation. To me, O Israel, you are just like the Ethiopians, right? The Tanakh, to me, O Israel, you are just like the Ethiopians. The Peshitta, behold, you are like the Ethiopians to me, O children of Israel. So what is one of the greatest signs given to the Israelites? We're going to deal with that, right? We're going to deal with that. And we'll deal with that word like, because when we look at that word like, right? When we deal with that word like, it means having the characteristics of something. Right. So I didn't put all my notes in here because I think I took it out because I didn't want it to be too long as far as this presentation. As you see, we're pushing 2 hours. And so I encourage you guys to go back over the presentations that I've already done. I think I did one called Zionism and also did a response to Rabbi Shapiro. I did a walkthrough playbook on him, and I really break down Cush. So the full presentation, I explain that in the playbooks, and that's the purpose of the playbooks. I'll play a lecture or something that someone is speaking on, and then we'll do a playbook to really show you how to navigate, and we kind of do a fact check on it as well. So again, like the Ethiopians. Not saying they are the Ethiopians, but like, in other words, having the characteristics. In other words, looking just like the Ethiopians. Skin complexion. So what is one of the greatest signs ever, signs given to Israel? What is one of the great signs given to Israel? Right? Skin complexion is a great sign that was given to Israel. See, we have a lot of narratives that are being taught now that, hey, you know what? Jewish comes in all colors. They could be white, black, family. Nah, that's getting into some other stuff. That's getting into some other stuff, because I can prove that is false. Because if we start getting into that, now we're making Israel into what? A race, right? And another system of how can I put it? Within the Jewish community, we're making them into what? Their own standalone race. To where though you have Asians, you have blacks, you have all these different groups within this community. Now they become an actual race within themselves. So we have to be careful, because then this is, this kind of further push some of the confusion, because many will say, yeah, they were all kinds of colors. No, you know what? In our community, dark melanated people, guess what? We can produce all the different colors, but guess what? It doesn't work in reverse. It does not work in reverse. Right? A Caucasian cannot produce all the colors. Someone would say, well, hey, here's an exception to the rule. This white couple had a white and black baby, or a white and brown baby, whatever. How often does that happen? And that's a whole nother discussion in itself. We come in all shades. We produce all the colors. And I can literally give you scientific proof with that as well, not just me just running off the top of my head. But anyway, and I encourage you, look at the just start with the Oxford Dictionary definition of how they define black, and also how they define brown, and look at the definition. Start with that, right? For those that want to come up with those narratives, start with that, and then we can build from there. All right. So again, skin complexion was used as a sign twice in the book of Revelation, right? Revelation chapter 1, verse 15, as we see here. Oh, there, I did it again. I don't know what I was thinking of. I know that's where the error was. Let me go ahead and fix the slide real quick. I don't know what was going on with me with that right there. All right. I messed it up again. Let me fix it real quick, family. Let me fix it real quick, because I think it's another slide that's going to do the same thing. Let me fix it real quick. All right, there we go. Now I see where the problem was when I was doing this presentation earlier. Yep, I see where the problem was. All right, let's fix it right now before we move forward, because we have some issues as well presenting this text. All right, there we go. I think I just fixed it. Yeah. All right, here we go. So Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. His head and his hairs were like wool. Let me say it again. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Let me say it again. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and as white, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 2, verse 18. See, family, we have to get beyond reading the scriptures as we're looking for bullets. We're trying to look for a response to others. When you do that, you'll miss out on so many nuggets, because we see that the skin complexion was touched on twice in the book of Revelation. right? We see it again here, Revelation chapter 2, verse 18. Notice what it says here. And unto the angel of the assembly of Thyatira, write these things, saith the son of Elohim, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, right? His eyes, the intensity in his eyes of what he see of what has become of his people. And his feet are like unto what? Fine brass. So we see twice the physical appearance, and more importantly, we see his skin complexion being described twice inside this book. But notice what it's, actually, I'm going to touch on that in a second. Let me just break this down real quick, this word like. The etymology dictionary, the word like, I mentioned it, but let me show it on your screen. It says it's having the same characteristics or quality, like, similar. So when you see like, his hair like, his skin like, it's not saying it is burnt brass, but it's saying, or burnt bronze, or burnt copper. It's saying that have the characteristics. His hair white like snow, right? We're dealing with characteristics. When we deal with wool, it's not saying it is the wool of a lamb, but guess what? It has the same characteristics of the wool that's on a lamb. That's what it means, having the same characteristics or qualities. So when we see Ethiopians, like the Ethiopians, having the same characteristics or qualities. So it's saying Israel looked like the Ethiopians, right? That's why, that image, when we see Moses, right? That's why that image that we saw, that when we was talking about Moses, and we saw that image that I put on the screen that's supposed to, of the white kid blending in, trying to blend in with the, our melanated children there. It was like, nah, that can't happen. That's not going to happen. Look totally the opposite. The characteristics are not the same, right? So when we look at the Egyptians, right? When we see Israel looked like the Egyptians. Moses, guess what? He looked like the Egyptian. Joseph was mistaken for an Egyptian. Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. That means they had the physical characteristics, resemblance of the Egyptians. You can't get around it. Okay? So head and hairs were white like wool. Let me touch on this just a little bit, right? Not going to get too deep in it, because I'm going to show you that the Messiah had locks. The Messiah had locks. He didn't have no little curls on the side of his head. He had locks, right? So we see here threeks. It means, as it says, of uncertain derivation, but nevertheless, you see hair compared to what? 2864, this input here. So let's go there. Let's see what that says. Kome. Let's see what kome means, right? Kome. It says this: the hair of the head, locks. Oh, wait a minute. Did I just say that the Messiah had locks? Remember, family, some of these sources that we're sharing, guess what? You guys should be celebrated, because now you're getting, the Most High is giving us proper clarity on what the text says. Because when you look at Numbers chapter 6, it says, like, guess what? You see locks described there. Why? Because many who did this Nazirite vow did it for life. Some did it for life, like the Messiah had it for life. When we look at others that had this Nazirite vow, we know Samson had locks. We know Ezekiel had locks. We know King Solomon had locks. Guess what? Locks was common among the Israelites, and not just among the Israelites, also among the Egyptians. The Egyptians, especially if you look up wigs or hair from the 18th dynasty, you'll go to, it'll take you to the British Museum, and you'll see wigs that the Egyptians had that had locks in them. Look just like you and I, our hair of today. So you should be what? Guys, you should be celebrating. But you know what? Unfortunately, because of how things have been taught, it took something that we should be proud of to now what? Being embarrassed. Because growing up, having locks was taught as a negative thing. A negative thing. But when we really understand it, guess what? We see it in the scriptures. The locks were there. The Messiah had locks. He never cut his hair. He had locks, not curls. He had locks. he had locks. And again, if you read Numbers chapter 6, you'll see locks. You understand locks were popular among the Israelites. So again, whenever you look in the mirror, remember what I said. This is what you should be doing. All right, now let's continue. All right, let's continue. So Komeh means the hair of the head, locks. Right? Now on this screen, what hair do you see on your screen? What just type in the comment section. What hair do you see on the screen? Right? What hair do you see on the screen? Do you see our hair? If you see our hair, just put type 1. If you see our hair on the screen, the texture of your hair on the screen, type 1. If you see the texture of your hair on the screen, type 1. Does these locks look familiar? Type 1. Type 1. If these look familiar, type 1. If you see that this look like your hair, type 1. All right. So far, everyone we are unanimously, we in agreement that this looks just like our hair. This is our hair. We see all ones here. All ones. Peace and blessings to Elder Hall. We see all ones. All ones. We're almost close. See all ones. All ones. I'm going right down the list. I'm just putting some of the responses up on the screen. All ones, family. Now, let me explain this image here. What you see on your screen is actually a superimposed image that I created. Let me say this again. This is actually a superimposed image that I created. I actually reversed the color, right? Because I want to really prove this point to you that this is how our hair is. This is the texture of our hair. But guess what? Let me show you the actual image before I actually changed the color of it. Before I made it to black and white and converted it. I inverted it rather, not superimposed. I inverted it, right? Excuse me for saying superimposed. I inverted the image to make it into a black and white color, right? And I inverted it, right? So notice this here. This is the actual image right here. Guess what you see on your screen? That is sheep hair. That is sheep hair. That is sheep hair. When we start dealing with that area of the world, that is sheep hair. That is the characteristics of our hair. This is an actual image of sheep hair. You know, people try to come up with all kinds of images like, look at this sheep hair. Look at it. No, we're going to deal with this particular sheep that's right in that this image is from sheep from in that territory. So I want to do this in a way to where as though when you look at this image, you see you. But this is actually proving my point of having what? Like, right? The characteristics of the wool of a lamb. Woolly characteristics. All right. So let's continue. The Messiah had locks. Now let's give clarity about his skin complexion, right? Feet like unto fine brass? No, it's actually copper. And I'm going to explain to you why, because brass did not exist back then. It's copper or bronze. Big difference in texture, big difference in the quality of the metal. So his feet like unto fine brass is actually copper. And we all know what color copper is when you burn it. We all know, especially if you look at the Statue of Liberty, right? Many thought that the Statue of Liberty was originally created to be a melanated woman, even though we know when it was built over, that's a whole nother discussion. The original Statue of Liberty that was built for over in Africa was a dark woman, a melanated woman. But for in the Americas, now that wasn't the case. But when you look at copper is what? Dark. What you see with the Statue of Liberty, that's because of the erosion. It looks green. But if you get a penny, a true old penny, what color is that penny? It may look shiny for a moment, but what color is that penny? That penny start looking just like our skin complexion. So brass is a poor translation. It'll either be bronze or copper. That's closer to that's the actual proper translation. Not brass, but bronze or copper. That's the proper translation. All right. So let's look at the Hebrew definition of copper, right? Not kashath, right? Let's look it up here. We see here, it says brazen, brass, chain, copper, fetter. So again, brass should not be here, but copper, right? Or bronze, okay? So let's look at the etymology. And I'm telling you, family, understanding and paying attention to the details is very important. Notice what the online etymology dictionary says here. Brass, yellow malleable alloy metal, harder than copper, right? A mystery word with no known cognate beyond English. Wait, notice what it says? It says a mystery word with no known cognates beyond English. But look what it says here. Old English, right? We see brace, in other words, brass, bronze, originally any alloy of copper in England, usually with tin, right? This is now called bronze. Later in modern use, an alloy of roughly two parts copper to 1 part zinc. A mystery word with no known cognates beyond English. Perhaps akin to French, brasier, which means to brew. Then we see here it says, Old Swedish, brassar means fire, but no sure connection can be made. Yet another theory connects it with the Latin ferrum, in other words, iron, in other words, itself of obscure origin. Goes on to say, also tend to be difficult to explain, as brass was unknown in early antiquities. Let me say it again. As brass was unknown in early antiquity, the use of the English word in Bible translations, etc., means likely bronze, right? This is telling you that this word brass is not even an ancient word. It's not even an ancient word. The Romans were the first to deliberately make it. When works of Greeks and Roman antiquities in brass began to be critically examined and their material discriminated, the Italian word for brass, in other words, bronze, bronzo, came into use to distinguish this ancient brass from the current alloy, right? So this is telling you that, guess what? This is not an accurate depiction of the scriptures, right? Copper, right? Or bronze, not this brass stuff. Because when we think of brass, think about the color of brass too. So let me compare this to another etymology dictionary. Let's do an etymology dictionary comparison. Let's go to the same word brass from the Earnhardt, right? The Barnhart Concise Dictionary of Etymology. Look at what it says. Doesn't have that line that was inserted here. It says an alloy of copper and tin, now called bronze. An alloy of what? Copper. So brass, 12th century. But it says an alloy. That's why properly we just say copper or bronze, right? Now called bronze, of uncertain origin. Then it goes on to tell us here, in compound brass penning, in other words, copper penny. Right. And it goes on to tell us, as we see here, 1576, forward in manner. But we don't see all the other stuff that was added here, because the online etymology dictionary includes yellow malleable alloy metal harder than copper. If you understand this here, this can give you an impression that when when you start seeing these little definitions like this, these are little things that can be planted in your subconscious, thinking that what? Yellow, lighter, is stronger than dark. Lighter is stronger than dark. Yellow malleable alloy metal harder than copper. Brass, yellow malleable or alloy, right? Yellow. That's not even a ancient term, not even an ancient metal, but yellow malleable alloy. Said brass is harder than copper, stronger than copper. Light is stronger than the dark. Light. You see where I'm going at with this? See, family, this is why you got to make sure that when you do going into the etymology dictionary online, I encourage you guys get you a physical copy of and here's, I'll put this back on the screen, the Barnhart Concise Dictionary of Etymology, the origins of English American English words. This will help you tremendously. Okay, wrapping this up, we're almost at the end. So the Messiah, let me say this again, the Messiah came in the image of Yahweh. Let me say this again. The Messiah came in the image of Yahweh. I got to prove this now, right? Let's go to Colossians chapter 1, verse 14 and 15, right? The Messiah came in the image of Yahweh. Let's go here. In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible Yahweh, the firstborn of every creature, right? We see here, this text is telling us that the Messiah is the image of the invisible Yahweh. In other words, he's the physical image. So let's look at the Greek definition of this word image in this text, right? And we see ekon, or it means here a likeness, an example, literal, statue, profile. So a literal, right? When it says literal, we're dealing with physical, a likeness, an example, literal, statue, profile, right? And then when we see here representation, resemblance, in the sub entry A, it says the heavenly things, an image of the heavenly things. Okay, so the question should be, what is the likeness of Yahweh? We almost finished with this, family. Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. We see Yahweh is described here. I beheld till the thrones were cast down. The ancient of days did sit, right? Athayak or Athyak, right? Of days, Yawam. So the ancient of days did sit, whose garments was white as snow, not saying it's snow, similar to that word like, but having the characteristics of snow. The hair of his hair was like pure wool, not saying that it is wool, but it's saying it has the characteristics of the wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. But it didn't stop there, because this chapter, this vision right here also shares the Messiah. It mentions the Messiah here as well. If we go down a few verses, Daniel chapter 7, verse 13, it says this: I saw the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So we see the Messiah. We see the Messiah right here within the text. There's a distinction here. So guess what? If we know that the Messiah came in the image of the Most High, and we see the description of the Messiah in the text looking just like you and I, this means that the Most High looks just like who? You and I. Now, I want to say class dismissed, but I have just one more thing I want to share with you before we wrap up. So we have to be careful. See, we're the only community that, we're taught that our Messiah, our Most High, does not look nothing like us. We're the only group of people that the Messiah looks like our oppressors. Y'all better understand this, family. I hope you guys can really understand what's going on here. So why is the skin complexion mentioned twice in Revelation? Why is it mentioned twice? This is because of the law of 2 or 3 witnesses. It's mentioned twice because of the law of 2 or 3 witnesses. This is Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 15. We're about to close this out. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, and any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. So you have to have at least 2 witnesses to confirm, because if it's just one, that's one word against another person's word. 2 or 3 witnesses. Now, guess what? Now we have proof. Now you have a way of proving whatever claims or charges that's being brought to the attention against someone. All right. So one witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, and any sin that he sinneth at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. So skin complexion matters, right? The skin complexion matters in this world order. Let me say this again. Skin complexion matters to this world order that we're dealing with. Excuse the typos here. Didn't double check the writings here. I should have, but anyway, skin complexion matters to this world order that we're dealing with. This institution of race. Now I'll just share with you real quick for those that say skin complexion doesn't matter. It matters in this very system that we operate and function in. Contemporary scholars agree that race was a recent invention and that it was essentially a folk idea, not a product of scientific research and discovery. This is not new to anthropologists. The term race, which have been a classificatory term like or kind, but with ambiguous meaning, generic, Catholic. Remember we talked about it. Generic, general, universal, Catholic meaning became more widely used in the 18th century and crystallized into a distinct reference for Africans. And it goes on to say Indians as well and others, right? So a distinct reference. By focusing on the physical and status differences between the conquered and enslaved peoples. Let me say that again. So when we understand this institution of race, they use skin complexion to draw a distinction between the conquered and enslaved people and the Europeans. That's the whole purpose of this institution. The emergent ideology linked the socio-political status and physical traits together and created a new form of social identity. They came up with this Crayola crayon, black, so that way now they can lump all of us in one category. So this is why we have a lot of problems. This is why we have confusion. Many people will use to fight for the color black, right, to be called black, but don't understand their nationality, don't understand their ethnicity. This is the problem, because we all being lumped in. We don't see the Asians being lumped in. They make a distinction among themselves. You better not go overseas and call someone that's Chinese a Japanese and vice versa. They know who they are. But this was done so that way they can push a new narrative, turn literally the world upside down, put us on the bottom of the totem pole. Whereas though we're actually the first, right? The last shall be first and the first shall be last. We're at the top of it, truly. But they created a new form of social identity, right? They created constructs for us to identify ourselves with, like black. Who determined that? They determined that. Like the word Negro, the way that they explain the meaning of it today. And I encourage you guys to watch Benea's video that he did on Neged, right? You'll see it's totally the opposite. The word nigger or neggers, we see that they added the negative spin to it. They created these constructs so that way we can gravitate to, identity, to have so much pride in things that is completely taking us away from the key things that we should be obtaining as a nation, as a group of people, Israelites, land, family, tongues. But we think that sneakers Name brand expensive sneakers that's $200 and $300, that's your identity. We think that buying a $1,000 pair of pants, that's your identity. We think that buying a couple of $1,000, a jacket or shirt or product, we think that that's our identity. That's not what identify who we are. Many of our brothers and sisters that are in this penal institution fighting over city blocks that they don't own. They're fighting over jail cells that they don't own. That's because of this institution. This institution, the very things that they taught us to be ugly. Hey, your skin complexion is ugly. Your lips are ugly. Your hair texture is ugly. But guess what? Notice what they do. The very ones that put us down about our skin complexion, they getting tans. The very ones that put down our hair texture, they braiding their. The same ones that want to talk about our lips, they putting what they call it, silicone, whatever they call it. They filling their lips up with these things to make their lips look just like us. They want to have the likeness of us, but they don't want to have to walk inside our skin. They want to have the likeness. They want to be as us, but they don't want to be us. Right? Big difference. See, family, be proud of your skin complexion. Be proud of your texture of your hair. Be proud of the shape of your nose. Be proud of the shape of your body. Be proud of those things. Let's wrap this up. Does color matter? I just proved it does. Because even in this source I share by Audrey Smetley, the emergent ideology linked the socio-political status and physical traits together and created a new form of social identity for those that keep saying identity doesn't matter. And this is one of the sources I share here. The Negro Law of South Carolina, 1818. That word Negro. The term Negro is confined to slave Africans. That's based off of color, right? The term Negro is confined to slave Africans. In other words, the ancient Berbers and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, the Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars. So is there a punishment to those who reject the second sign? Right? Reject the sign of our skin complexion, because we see skin complexion was used to what? Make sure we understand the Messiah, when he returns, that he's going to look just like us. If that Messiah, if they saying that this is the Messiah that don't look like us, that don't have the texture of our hair, that does not have our skin complexion, guess what? We got a problem here. We got a problem here. We have a problem here. They want to say color doesn't matter, but they got a Caucasian image of supposed the Messiah on their walls inside their worship centers. If color didn't matter, guess what? Why it matters when it comes to us? Anything but the Negroes, right? And he could look like anyone but us. Anything but the Negroes. Anything but these people that was enslaved. Anything but the Negroes, right, family? But let me show you the punishment. Right? This is why we see what's happening right now among us. Right? We seeing judgment happening right now. You guys don't understand, man. When I do the lesson on the two witnesses, oh man, it's going to be powerful. But notice this here. Rejection of the two signs, the identity, which is the staff, and also what the sign, that's what come with the territory of the skin complexion. Exodus chapter 4, verse 9. Let's look at it here. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe also these two signs, neither hearken unto thy voice, that thou shalt take of the water of the river and pour it upon the dry land. And the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood upon dry land, upon the dry land. So this is telling us there's a judgment, right? There is a judgment that's going to affect the currency. There's a judgment that's going to affect the functionality of the land. There's a judgment that's going to affect the trade, because water that's used for trade. That's you got all kinds of ships going back and forth among the waters. It's going to affect the heavens. Isn't that the power of the two witnesses in Revelation chapter 11? Right? Have the power to what? Cause pestilence that can shut down all the nations. Family, that's what we're seeing happening today, because so many are rejecting us, still rejecting us. But no one is talking about right now, the Jewish community as we know them, guess what? They done declared who is their Messiah. They already identify who's supposed to be their Messiah. And so many people are what? The law returned, heading to Israel, coming from Romania, all kinds of places. But guess what? While all of those are supposedly returning, guess who's getting kicked out of there? While those are coming to return, the Jewish community as we know them, returning from all these different places, right? But we're getting kicked out of there. That's a whole nother discussion. Dealing with the word Israel, Israeli, Jew, Israelite. That's a whole nother discussion to give proper clarity. All right. But anyway, you see the judgment right here. And we've been rejected, and we're seeing the judgment play out, I believe, right now. So another key sign that was given to Israel. We're going to close out with this. Let's go to Matthew chapter 17, verse 1 through 3. This is our last text. And after 6 days, Yahushua taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. Okay. Now, let's wrap this up. Inside the comment section, type in what stands out about this text. Just type in your, whatever stands out about this first verse, type it in. Just enter it into the comment section and we'll wrap this up. All right. Whatever stands out about this text. This is Matthew chapter 17, right? Verse 1. And after 6 days, Yahushua taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart. All right. Let's see what we see here. All right. That's right. You guys are getting it. You guys are caught on to it, right? Shirley Greer, 6 days, right? Let me put some of them up here. 6 days. That's right. That's what you, out of all what we just went over, this is what you should catch, right? Jay Highstyle, the 7th day, right? We have Deliverer, right? Sister Yvette Riviera. We have, she says here, Rivera, 6 days, right? Sister Sharon, we see 6 days, okay? Let's see here. Someone say Transfiguration, that's key. But guess what? Zena, 6 days, right? Regina Brown, 6 days, right? Guess what? The answer here, and we just went through all of this, right? We just went through all of this to take it to this point here to show another sign. We know the resurrection is a sign on the Shabbat. But notice what the Most High, through his son, notice what Yahushua did on this day. It says after 6 days. In other words, they are on the Shabbat here. On the Shabbat, right? On the Shabbat, the Most High, or actually Yahushua, took 3 of the disciples, Peter, James, and John, and he took them, it says, and bringeth them up into a high mountain, right? He separated them and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. So we see 2 people talking with him, but the key is they were given another sign. They were given a sign on the Shabbat. They saw the glory of the Messiah on the Shabbat. And after 6 days, Mark chapter 9, verse 1 through 3, we see confirm it over here. And he said unto them, verily I say unto you that there be some of them that stand here, which shall not taste death, till they have seen the kingdom of Yahweh come with power. Verse 2, after 6 days, Yahushua taketh with him Peter, James, and John, and leadeth them up into an high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can whiten them. And so what's so powerful about this, on the Shabbat, what did the disciples wanted to do? They wanted to build it, put up a tent, a tabernacle, and wanted to do what? Celebrate. They wanted to have a worship service, not worship them as in the worship Moses, not worship Isaiah or Elijah, rather. But they wanted to what? Have a worship celebration, right? In honor of all what they saw before them. But they saw what? The glory. That's the key. They saw the glory. Guess what? The sign of the Shabbat. We're going to see some things happen that we've never saw before, but it's going to happen on the Shabbat. Man, guess what? We rather not leave or depart on the Shabbat, because guess what? Especially on that day of judgment, when you know, some of the miraculous things that we see that's going to happen on the Shabbat, man, we're going to see how the Most High just fulfill his word continuously on what day? The Shabbat. On what day? His holy feast days. We're going to see him confirm things. The glory. They saw the glory. They saw the true form of the Messiah right before them. They saw beauty. When you see ruddy, again, amazing, beautiful skin. When you see white and ruddy, actually, the proper context is amazing, beautiful skin. They saw the glory of the Most High. They saw the glory of the Most High Son right before them. So glory, this is what glory means. It says, in a good sense, numerous, rich, honorable, glorified, honorable, glorified. But guess what? We got to really get a full understanding of this. We have to go to the Hebrew word sham. And it says here, of course, it could be the literal for its name, mark or memorial of individuality. But notice what they saw here too, because they did see a separation between the Messiah, Moses, and Elijah, right? So, but here we see honor, authority, character, fame, infamous, renown, report, reputation. As you see up the bottom here, it says what? Fame, glory. So they got to see on the Shabbat the full glory of the Messiah before them on the Shabbat. And if you go further down in the book of Matthew, in the same chapter 17, you'll see later on, the Messiah shared with them what? You know, it's another incident, but we're still dealing with the same time, right? Show them the important and explain to them what? The 3 days that 3 days, talk about his resurrection, on the third day being resurrected. Guess what that's referring to? We see another great thing that occurred on the Shabbat is the resurrection, the Messiah being raised again. But here they're seeing the glory of the Messiah, right? They seeing the glory of the Messiah. They seeing truly who he is. And when he comes back, we're going to see another thing that comes with the reputation of him. He's going to take vengeance on his lost sheep that's scattered around the world. As Rabbi Shapiro pointed out, he said the remnant is our people that's scattered around this world. He said, listen closely. He said the remnant is our people scattered around the world. Family, so don't let anyone tell you that the Shabbat is not important. The Shabbat is a sign. Don't let them tell you that your identity doesn't matter, because it does. Don't let them tell you that your skin complexion doesn't matter, because it does. Because if it wasn't connected to your salvation of getting you to truly believe, the same thing that Most High used for Moses to get the Israelites that was in captivity to believe in his reputation, that he's more than just a literal name. Guess what? He did the same thing in the prophecy of the Messiah coming back. Made sure we understood that he looked just like us, the hair texture and everything. So that way it'll get us back into that place of what? Believing the authority, the power, the glory, the reputation that the Messiah is going to come in to bring judgment to all that causes people to be in the disposition that we're in today. Man, you guys should be doing this. Hallelujah. 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 Because guess what, family? If you try to change the word, if you try to say the Messiah was white or Caucasian, if you try to say he was olive, in other words, the unripe olive, you changing the word. Revelation makes it clear that you're not supposed to change anything, any of the prophets, anything within that book. If not, if you change anything, that means you're going to be on the rough end of that judgment. You're going to be on the rough end of that judgment. So even changing the appearance of the Messiah, you are breaking the law of the scriptures. And there is a judgment that is going to come. So with that being said, family, this was a lengthy presentation. I know I covered a lot, but I hope and pray that this edifies you. I'm not going to do any lives for another week or so, because I know I did a lot this past week, the last week and a half. So I'm not going to do any lives until probably next weekend, just so that way you guys can get caught up, and that way I could get my voice to, take a break with my voice. But I really appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. And with that being said, again, we're going to give the garbage can to a number of things tonight. If you guys have anyone that you want us to give the garbage can to, just go ahead and post it, and we're going to go ahead and give our garbage can shout outs right now. So for me, I'm going to give the garbage can for any pastor, any leader, any Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism that are not properly identifying who the true people of the book is, properly identifying the texture, the color of the Messiah, who is given this replacement theology, this covenant theology. And guess what? Replacement covenant theology is not just with the Roman Catholics. It's not just with the Christian church. It's with what we see right now with Judaism and some of these other belief systems. So let's give them the garbage can. All right, let's give them the garbage can. And anyone, and it's a lot of crazy doctrine that's popping up, like this doctrine of Christ consciousness, this Christian mysticism that's popping up, rising up all around us. Let's give them the garbage can. It's a number of other ones I could give the garbage can to, but I'm not going to do it tonight. But if you guys have anyone else that you want to add to this garbage can, just go ahead and type it in. We'll recognize some of them, and then we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. So again, family, really appreciate you guys tonight. Let's see what we have here. We'll recognize a couple of them. All right. I don't see any new ones posted here. All right. All right. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So with that being said, family, as we wrap up, as Moses was instructed by the Most High to encourage the children of Israel as they came to what it appeared to be a stumbling block, a dead end. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, right? The Most High said to Moses to share these words with Israel to encourage them. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh." Right? These Egyptians that you see here today, these strongholds that you see here today, will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker. We must hold our peace. The Most High will fight for you. In other words, bring salvation to each and every one of us. Will defend us. Will avenge us. Will do all these things for us. That's what salvation is. He will fight for us. But we have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.